All right. Hi, I'm Katie Bach, Channel Development Specialist of SecureCyber. And in the studio today, we have Eric Parsley from Scyber. Thank you so much for joining us, Eric.
Absolutely.
I want you to talk a little bit about your organization that you've just started, as well as the, risk and compliance, security, risk and compliance, and some differences there.
Sure, yeah. So Scyber is a cybersecurity governance and cybersecurity compliance focused company that we're helping small, medium regulated businesses, whether they have either regulations they have to meet from a cybersecurity compliance standpoint with CMMC, TISAX, ISO 27001, or some other framework that they're trying to go after from either a contractual obligation or a regulation that they need to hit.
Okay, interesting. And how long have you been doing this?
So me personally, I've been doing IT and cybersecurity for well over a decade. And what I found is that a lot of people, when you get into the nuances of a cybersecurity compliance, you may have tech guys and you may have policy people, but trying to marry the two, especially in a business supporting strategy, is where a lot of the difficulty comes in. And that's where we found our niche to be able to help decode what these cybersecurity compliances actually are and how you can implement them in a secure way to help further the business.
Absolutely. I'm sure there's a lot of confusion between compliance and actually being secure.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have in the industry is understanding that just because you're compliant with a framework doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually secure. And I'll give you an example. CMMC is a big one, which is based off the NIST 800-171 controls. CMMC is essentially dedicated to revision 2 right now as the memo from the DOW has come out. And one of the things that people highlight is, in cybersecurity, we're trying to protect confidentiality, integrity, or availability. One of the things that the NIST 800-171 controls really focus on is the confidentiality and the integrity piece of it. The availability is not so much. Now, if you think about it from a business strategy, from disaster recovery, business continuity, and those types of aspects of keeping the business up and running, there's not a lot of business continuity controls that are built into the NIST 800-171. The government essentially is saying, all we're really trying to do is safeguard this sensitive data. Well, what you have is that you can be compliant, but you can still be in a world of hurt if you have some sort of ransomware attack or you have an availability, where your building burns down and you are in a very bad spot because you're not able to continue doing the business that you have been doing because you were compliant but not necessarily secure.
Right. And let's talk a little bit more about the sensitive data. Where do most companies think that their sensitive data lives?
A lot of times the sensitive data that they think is more or less just on their servers. And, I've been in some places, especially like manufacturers, where they say, no, all of our sensitive data is in our file shares. We have our ERP server. Maybe we have sensitive data in email. And then all of a sudden the maintenance guy brings out a laptop that's been sitting at his desk for the last 3 years, not connected, no updates. Not getting anything.
Yeah.
So a lot of times what you find is that they have an idea where they think that the data is actually living. And then when you get down to the brass tacks of it, they actually have gaps that they need to identify where they actually have data that needs protected.
Yeah. And what really qualifies as sensitive data?
Well, that definitely depends on the business. It depends on the type of data. With CMMC and NIST, the government tells you what that sensitive data is, but you can really classify any sensitive data that you need to operate your business. And if it fell into the wrong hands, that you could suffer reputational damage. You could, have damage to your employees of their personal data, even in HR systems where you have sensitive medical information. So sensitive data really depends on the client, of the customer we're trying to help. And a lot of times it depends on their actual business. There may be some people that say our quality data is very, very sensitive and we have to have that data, or maybe they're an OEM manufacturer and they have to hold that data for 7 years or 20 years or 30 years. A lot of aerospace manufacturing companies, they don't have the ability to say, we're just going to purge this data after a certain amount of years on a life cycle, because if there's a crash or something in the, NTSB is investigating, or the FAA needs that information, they have to be able to pull that up.
Yeah.
So that becomes another sensitive data that has to be protected.
Yeah, those are great examples. But shifting back to compliance, how is it evolving with the cloud-first environments?
That's actually a really, really good topic.
Yeah.
One of the things that you run into is that as a traditional IT sense for so long, we've relied on the environmental variables that we have controlled to help essentially have on-premise servers. We have, all of our heating, our cooling, our backup power, and it's all in the back room in a server room that we all have access to for, from an IT guy perspective. Now what you have to do is you have to trust the cloud provider that you're looking to move to. And then also you have to make sure that the connections you're setting up are secure, that you're checking that. And then all of a sudden, just because it's in someone else's cloud doesn't mean that it doesn't need protected. And one of the things that you looked into, especially from cloud providers, they will have more like a shared responsibility matrix. They'll tell you what they're responsible for and then what you're responsible for. In a cloud provider, especially in CMMC and NIST, they will tell you exactly what controls that they're responsible for. So they may be doing physical security, but access control, it's your data. It's just living in their server or their cloud. You're still responsible for protecting that data with the appropriate controls and being, essentially having those security controls around it.
Right. And what role will data visibility and monitoring play in the future frameworks of that?
Well, I think that the one thing that you run into is that having the ability to understand where your data lives and understanding how monitoring of those environments. So there's certain security tools out there, such as cloud service brokers, to be able to monitor the sensitivity of data. You have DLP rules to make sure that you don't have data loss going out and leakage of that data where it's not supposed to go. And so a lot of times that you have all of these different places that have different security controls and configurations that need to be implemented and tweaked. But then at the end of the day, you also need to have an overall central management to be able to view, okay, we have information in Microsoft. Well, we have information in, say, Docker or, even up in AWS or things like that. From an IT guy's perspective, it's a lot of administrative overhead. And so having the right systems in place to make sure you're monitoring where you're supposed to, having the right tools in place to make sure you're not missing the gaps, but then even having a strong governance policy and a strong governance structure to make sure that you're checking the things that are supposed to be checked.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the compliance comes in.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I want to leave with one word to describe good security posture. What would you think that is?
Definitely resilience.
Okay.
One of the things that I would say is security is definitely not a sprint. It's a marathon. Especially from a compliance standpoint, a lot of the auditors and assessors want to make sure that you've implemented it and that you've continually managed it and done the things that you're supposed to do on a continuous basis.
Yeah.
You have to make changes. You have to be flexible. You have to flow and just keep a watchful eye all the time.
Oh, wow. That's really great. Thank you so much, Eric. I really appreciate you being here. Again, thank you for joining us. I'm Katie Bach with SecureCyber.